Hello, I'm Dan Mitzi-Harris, a product designer here at GitLab working on the important optimized stages in the managed group. And I am a procrastinator. Tim Urban, the writer and TED Talk star, talks about two types of brains, non-procrastinators and procrastinators. Inside my head and the head of all procrastinators, he describes two characters, a rational decision maker who cohabits with an instant gratification monkey. I'm sure all the procrastinators watching this have seen the fantastic TED Talk or read the article. Well, they should have been doing something else, but if you aren't a procrastinator, you should definitely check them out. I've put the links here. And yes, I did get distracted preparing this showcase and ended up reading them all again. The rational decision maker isn't trained to deal with the instant gratification monkey, and life can often play out like this. At GitLab, however, things can play out a little bit differently, as there's so much cool stuff to do, a constant stream of rabbits to chase into holes, chances to collaborate, and cool things to learn, and unlimited opportunities, all of which the instant gratification monkey tells me are good things to do. So what happens is, at the end of the week, I know I've been busy, helpful, and productive, but I can't remember what I've done, or perhaps more worryingly, I can't remember what I've agreed to do in the future. So here's the journey of how I'm trying to tackle that using GitLab to manage my plan. I hope this exploration is useful to you and you're able to learn from my pain. And if you're up for it, I'd love to offer you the opportunity to help me design my life and help me to avoid a to-do hellhole. It all starts with lists. Philosopher and novelist Umberto Eco argues that lists are the origin of culture. As designers, we are often comfortable with spending time in ambiguity, but what better way to bring clarity and definition than the simple list? Even this talk, when the panic monster eventually forced me to work on it, started as a list. Even joining GitLab starts with a list, 327 items, with gratifying checkboxes, making sure a joiner does everything from changing their passwords to add a picture of their pet to the team page. The instant gratification monkey loved it, but by week 2, when I started being pinged in issues by my 2 different groups eager to get started, I knew the onboarding issue honeymoon couldn't last. There's no shortage of options for creating lists. I've heard suggestions for all sorts of tools, things, Todoist, Remember the Milk, Trello, Reminders app, or my personal favorites, Notion and pen and paper. But at GitLab, we are rightly encouraged to use the one DevOps platform to do its thing. So let's take a look. As I mentioned earlier, when I joined GitLab 6 months ago, it all started as a list. But to be more accurate, as 2 lists. And this continued to grow, sprawling across multiple issues as I tried to get up to speed with the company and the 2 different groups I was working with. I quickly lost track of things. I knew I'd been busy and productive, but I couldn't remember what I've done. And if I hadn't been able to do it straight away, there was a real risk of it being lost to time. Initial attempts began in the onboarding issues themselves. But as I clicked around GitLab, I started to discover how others were trying to solve similar problems. A common pattern I saw was these week or month plans, markdown files for a period with checkboxes. This example's from Hyana, so I gave it a go. It didn't go well. I struggled to find it, updating it was laborious, and it lacked hierarchy. Those of you in the UX Slack channel might remember I asked how everyone kept track of all the things, and I'm super grateful for all of the responses. I had my first breakthrough when I saw Sungjung's tables, and another soon after when I saw how Jeremy uses issues instead of markdown files. I wondered if I could remix these ideas together to try and create something that could work for me. Here's my first attempt at putting it all together. Some metadata at the top, some stuff I've agreed to do in the middle, a log of other stuff I needed to do, and the stuff I actually ended up doing. That was 3 months ago, and a few iterations later, here's how I'm using my list across 3 distinct phases: planning, during, and after. So for planning, while working across two groups with different PMs, teams, and priorities, it could be a real challenge for me to visualize the work and understand my commitments and capacity for upcoming milestones. My issues start life the milestone before, empty, but with a comment titled potential work. When a request comes in to work on something in a future milestone, I estimate the effort and add it to this table so I don't forget it. These accumulate in the current milestone, ready to be combined with my capacity estimation for the planning season of import and optimize. But estimation is hard, and that's probably a topic for another showcase. So during a milestone, by day one-ish, I've populated my issue template with planned leave, agreed work, additional to-dos, and anything else for the current milestone. I try and keep this part up to date, so the deliverables reflect the current status and any unplanned work gets logged. Occasionally, this unplanned work should really have been scheduled with a wait, so I'll try and document that here too. Something I'm also experimenting with is having a daily to-do list. It does a reasonable job of keeping the instant gratification monkey away, but I can sometimes forget about the big stuff in the deliverables table. Something I found helpful to bring me back from my 100 new tab exploration of an issue is to keep this on the screen at all times. The visual reminder acts as an anchor, helping me not to stray too far, and is a good stress test of the styles in issues at small viewport sizes. And I really do enjoy checking these boxes. Inevitably, it is only a plan, and I do end up refreshing my GitLab to-dos about 100 times a day to look for a good distraction, but I have found it to be really helpful so far. The third way I use these issues is to reflect on the past, identify opportunities for improvement, and also remember the successes to celebrate them. When I started at GitLab, our very own Pedro advised me to start my own reflective practice. And if you go back, you can see this item on my to-do list for a very long time, but I found a nice rhythm for it now. At the end of the milestone, before I close my issue, I look back at what I've done and write down what went well, what didn't go so well, and any new ideas I have. I'll often bring these to my one-to-one with my product design manager, Blair, and it's really nice to be able to talk through them and say goodbye to the old milestone. So we're currently in the mid-year talent assessment season, where we have an opportunity to look back at our greatest achievements, strengths, and opportunities. And I recently completed my preparation for this process. It would have been impossible if I hadn't been able to look back at these issues. My favorite achievements were all things I completely forgotten about, and it was a breeze to flick through the planned and unplanned work, contemplating how much I'd learned and grown over the past 6 months. Present me is very grateful to past me for writing it all down, along with some diary entries I wrote about certain issues, detailing my mood, thoughts, and feelings of different things at the time. So this is how I'm using GitLab to manage my plan, and it's helping me keep my instant gratification monkey occupied. And I enjoy the opportunities it gives me to live our transparency, efficiency, and collaboration values. Documenting what I've potentially agreed to do in upcoming milestones help me manage my capacity and reduces the chance of overcommitting. Using GitLab to scope my days and track my commitments helps me keep on track and allows others a view into my work. And a reflective practice helps me become a better designer and colleague through introspection and course correction. But I wish there was better ways of linking these boards and planning issues to the two groups I work in. I'd really like a smarter way of keeping the issue statuses up to date. I wish I was better at estimation, and I wish I could set a definition for my progress and a way to see that over time. But this is not the only way. I'm sure you have your own ways, and I've seen others use Markdown, other apps, their own personal issue boards, Slack reminders, and emails. So if you're doing something that's working, I'd love to see it. Please share it with me or in UX co-working Slack channel. And if you've got any ideas for how I can design my life better, please collaborate with me over in my current milestone issue. Thank you.
Looks like there's a comment. A read-only comment. I don't know if it's you want to voice it.
Yeah, I was just really impressed that Dan does a retro for himself. I mean, there's no excuse for us not to go and drop comments in the UX retro now. And it's really great that he documents his own learnings to inform the future improvements that he might want to make to the process that he's following. So, yeah.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to watching the TED Talk and reading Why Procrastinators Procrastinate. So thanks for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? A great presentation. I always like how seeing other people manage their GitLab life. Okay.